With the biggest story of the day, and that is the news that DeWanna Bonner is no longer with the Indiana Fever. It was reported last night that DeWanna Bonner had no intentions on returning to the Indiana Fever, and then the news broke today that the Indiana Fever had indeed.
A WNBA veteran just walked away from her team mid-season, convinced she held all the cards. But what followed was an unprecedented league-wide rejection and a brutal wave of karma that cost her a fortune. This is the shocking story of Dana Bonner's stunning miscalculation and why her career might never recover. Get ready for a deep dive into an audacious gamble, unexpected rejections, and a reputation irrevocably tarnished.
Statement. She said, "I want to sincerely thank the Indiana Fever for the opportunity to be part of the Fever franchise. Despite our shared goals and excitement heading into the season, I felt the fit did not work out, and I appreciate the organization's willingness to grant my request to move on, particularly at this point in my career. I wish the Fever great success as they continue to build around this dynamic group of young players."
The whispers started subtly, then roared into a full-blown official declaration. Dana Bonner, a decorated veteran with championship pedigree, was cutting ties with the Indiana Fever. Her public statement was a tapestry of polite professionalism, speaking of a fit that didn't work out, and a request to move on. Yet beneath that carefully crafted veneer, a far more audacious and, frankly, entitled narrative was rapidly taking shape. Bonner, it seems, held a profound belief that she could simply quit on the Fever, abandoning Caitlin Clark and her teammates in the crucible of a pivotal high-stakes season, and then, like a queen surveying her kingdom, simply waltz into any team she desired, with the Phoenix Mercury being her alleged preferred destination.
If another team claims her off the waivers, she gets her full salary. She gets her full salary if another team claims her off the waivers.
This wasn't a discreet parting. It was a public declaration of discontent, but reality, as it often does, served up a harsh, immediate, and utterly unprecedented dose of consequences. Teams across the WNBA, in a stunning collective show of solidarity, are refusing to touch her with a 10-foot pole. It's an unspoken, yet powerfully enforced blacklisting, a united front born from a fundamental, deep-seated rejection of her actions.
That makes DeWanna Bonner look really, really bad. It makes DB look really, really bad. And it's the fact that she has told all other teams, other than the Mercury, don't sign her.
This isn't just a player looking for a new home. It's a player who brazenly abandoned her current one, and the rest of the league is watching, learning, and explicitly definitively saying, "Not on our watch." The message echoing through every front office is deafeningly clear. Trust, commitment, and loyalty still matter, and there are consequences for discarding them so flippantly. This unprecedented level of unified avoidance speaks volumes about how deeply her actions rattled the foundational trust within professional basketball.
And look, I understand that's where she wants to go. Why didn't she go there in the summer? We know why, because she couldn't have got her max contract. And by the way, people are like, oh, they can give her the minimum. No, they can't. The Phoenix Mercury can give her a prorated $80,000 salary for the rest of the year. So she's only going to lose about 30K-ish. And she's going to lose about 40, 50K. Whereas they would have been only able to sign her earlier on. Well, they would only be able to sign her for nothing. Because again, we can't forget as well, the Phoenix Mercury cut Sevgi Uzun. The Phoenix Mercury have a bunch of players signed on hardships and a bunch of players that they can cut. Like they literally cap space magicked up. And as soon as cap space magics up for the the Phoenix Mercury.
Here's where Bonner's grand, audacious plan not only hits a wall, but explodes into a devastating financial implosion. When the Fever waived her, it didn't just free her, it placed her directly onto the WNBA's waiver wire. And here's the absolutely crucial part. Had any team in the league claimed her off those waivers, she would have been guaranteed her full $200,000 salary for the season. Let that monumental sum sink in for a moment. In the WNBA, that's a fortune, more than enough to entice interest in any veteran player, especially one with her championship experience and deep playoff runs. You'd reasonably think teams always looking for an edge would be lining up for a chance to acquire such a talent, even a disgruntled one. But this is where Bonner's strategy descends into an almost comedic level of self-sabotage. Reports quickly surfaced, then solidified, that she had specifically instructed every single team in the league, with the lone exception of the Phoenix Mercury, not to claim her. She was essentially attempting to act as a free agent, dictating terms and conditions while still technically under contract, demanding that she only go to one precise destination. The sheer audacity is breathtaking, especially when you consider the direct cost. By actively refusing to be claimed by any other team, she's almost certainly forcing herself into a situation where she'll have to sign for a prorated veteran minimum, likely an approximate $80,000. Do the math. That's a direct self-inflicted loss of over $100,000, money she's literally setting ablaze because she believes she can control where she plays after abandoning her team. It's a gamble that backfired, leaving her with a rapidly dwindling bank account and an even more rapidly deteriorating reputation. Now, for the ultimate excruciating twist of the knife, a development that renders Bonner's entire strategic retreat look utterly pathetic, even farcical. The Phoenix Mercury, the one team she allegedly torched her reputation and sacrificed six figures to join, reportedly aren't even sure they want her. Take a moment to truly absorb that bitter irony. She systematically burned every bridge with the Indiana Fever, seemingly for the singular, focused purpose of forcing her way to Phoenix, only to find the Mercury looking at her entire situation with profound skepticism and a growing sense of apprehension. The Mercury aren't some desperate, struggling franchise in need of any warm body. They are currently playing surprisingly well, gelling with a dynamic young core of role players who have fully bought into their system. They're winning games, not by virtue of star power, but with players who want to be there, who are committed, and who aren't going to bail the moment adversity strikes. So, the piercing question for Phoenix becomes, why on earth would we disrupt that hard-earned chemistry, that buy-in, for a 36-year-old veteran who just proved herself unequivocally unreliable? Bringing in someone who quits on their team when things get tough, who creates such public drama, sends a terrible, toxic message throughout an entire locker room. It's not simply about her on-court fit, it's about the cultural poison she could inadvertently introduce. The Mercury are acutely weighing the inherent risk of adding a player who just showed the entire league that commitment is conditional and loyalty is fleeting, and right now, that risk appears far too significant to gamble on. The irony is not just brutal, it's soul-crushing. She sacrificed everything, including her financial security and widespread respect, for a destination that now views her as a potential liability, a walking red flag. Beyond the financial devastation and the league-wide snub, perhaps the most profoundly damaging and heart-wrenching aspect of Bonner's departure is its indelible impact on the impressionable young players of the Indiana Fever, especially the league's brightest new star, Caitlin Clark. These athletes looked up to Bonner. She was supposed to be the quintessential veteran leader, a steady, experienced hand guiding them through the immense, often overwhelming pressure of playing for the WNBA's most scrutinized franchise. Instead, she delivered a masterclass in abandonment and self-preservation. When the team hit its inevitable rough patches, when the season's struggles began to mount higher than expected, she didn't step up. She cut and ran. That's not leadership. That's a stark, undeniable demonstration that commitment is optional, that adversity is a cue to depart. Caitlin Clark, specifically, had publicly expressed her genuine excitement about playing alongside Bonner, putting in significant, visible effort during the preseason to build on-court chemistry and rapport. To be told, in essence, by someone she admired and looked to for guidance that they didn't want to play with her anymore, that they found the situation intolerable, must have inflicted a deep personal sting. It's a harsh, unintended, and deeply cynical lesson for a young superstar. It undoubtedly adds another layer of emotional weight to Clark's already immense pressure cooker, perhaps even explaining some of her recent, uncharacteristic struggles on the court. This wasn't just a roster move, it was a leadership vacuum, a profound personal slight, and a devastating blow to the fragile morale of a developing team trying to find its footing under an intense spotlight. The message left in Bonner's wake is clear. When things get tough, you can simply quit and walk away. A truly toxic lesson for any aspiring professional. Bonner's actions invite stark, undeniable comparisons to some of professional sports' most infamous and controversial player exits. Think of Ben Simmons, who notoriously sat out and demanded a trade while still under contract, or Jimmy Butler's tumultuous, often dramatic departures from multiple teams. What Bonner did in Indiana echoes these situations, but in many critical ways, it's arguably even more egregious. Simmons and Butler, despite their antics, were still undeniably top-tier prime-age talents, holding significant marketable leverage. Bonner, however, is 36 years old and clearly in the twilight of her career, with her on-court production steadily declining. Yet, she's acting with the audacious leverage and entitlement typically reserved for an undisputed superstar. This isn't just about one player's misguided choice, it sets a deeply troubling, potentially catastrophic precedent for the entire WNBA. If a veteran player can simply quit mid-season, force their way to a preferred destination without real, lasting consequences, what stops others from doing the exact same thing? Why would teams invest countless hours and millions of dollars in building culture, chemistry, and long-term stability if players can simply walk away whenever they're unhappy, or a better offer, or a more convenient location arises? This behavior undermines the very foundation of contract integrity and professional commitment. It screams to every general manager and coach in a league with only 144 coveted roster spots that she's a flight risk, someone who will abandon her team when adversity strikes, when her role isn't exactly as she desires. That's not a mere reputation. It's a scarlet letter branded onto her professional identity. This isn't just a career decision. It's a profound unraveling, exposing a level of entitlement that can only lead to a solitary future. While Bonner's public statement offered vague, almost diplomatic reasons for her sudden departure, the true, unspoken motive has become an open secret reverberating throughout the league. Her undeniable desire to play in Phoenix, largely influenced by her connection to Alyssa Thomas, a star for the Connecticut Sun, whose team frequently travels to and plays in Phoenix. There's nothing inherently wrong with wanting to be near your loved one, but there's absolutely everything wrong with lying about your core intentions and abandoning your professional commitments in such a public, disruptive manner to make it happen. The timing of her sudden disillusionment with Indiana is also deeply, almost comically suspicious. It conveniently coincided with Phoenix magically having cap space available, space they gained by cutting other players just to potentially make room for a veteran. It's almost as if this entire, elaborate, destructive plan was meticulously choreographed from the very beginning. Sign with Indiana, bask in the unprecedented spotlight and financial benefits of being associated with Caitlin Clark, and the biggest story in women's basketball. Then, when Phoenix could finally afford her, engineer a forced public exit. This isn't just unprofessional, it borders on contractual manipulation, a blatant disregard for the spirit of her agreement. The ultimate crushing blow, the perfect poetic culmination of karma, is this. Bonner thought she could manipulate the system, dictate terms to an entire league, and force her way to exactly what she wanted. Instead, she's losing well over $100,000, alienating every other team in the league, and might still find herself completely unwanted by the one team she sacrificed everything, including her hard-earned respect, to join. Her actions were driven by personal desires and perceived convenience over professional obligations and team loyalty, and the entire league is now serving her a cold, hard, and public dose of reality. This truly reveals a deeper lack of commitment to the game itself, preferring personal convenience over competitive integrity. Dana Bonner truly believed she could quit on her team, abandon her teammates mid-season, and still have the entire league clamoring for her services. But reality, as it often does, delivered a brutal, undeniable lesson in consequences and the enduring weight of reputation. Her grand scheme to dictate her next move has resulted in widespread blacklisting, a staggering financial loss, and the ultimate stinging irony of potentially being rejected by the very team she burned every bridge to reach. Her legacy, once that of a solid contributing veteran, will now forever be entwined with this shocking, entitled display of self-serving abandonment. This wasn't a calculated business decision. It was a desperate, emotional gamble that backfired spectacularly. What does it say about the future of professional sports when personal convenience is prioritized so brazenly over contractual obligations and fundamental team loyalty? Share your thoughts on Bonner's unprecedented exit and its lasting fallout in the comments below. Hit that like button if you found this breakdown insightful, and make sure to stay tuned for more in-depth analyses of sports' most dramatic stories.